information elsewhere, but our current listserv on EasyText doesn't have all that information. So is there a way?
We don't need it. We don't need it. However, it does make for a better service when you have more.
Well, I was going to ask if we could add that in later. I mean, that may take us a long time to kind of go back and add it. I don't know. We'd have to sit with the data that we have and see, how we can put it into a spreadsheet really quickly. Can we just add that data? Going forward, I think it'll be very easy because once we define what those.
Yeah. So to benchmark your program, we'll just go with whatever you've got. But yeah, moving forward, that's gonna help quite a bit because, when you've got, and I'll show you, I mean, this is pretty straightforward stuff. Here's a single case upload sample, just a second here. Single number test. Okay. So, we're going to want a Excel spreadsheet with the clients that you currently have. And that can be as simple as a column with the header phone followed by all of the mobile numbers. I mean, it can be as simple as that. But of course, the more columns of information you have, the more valuable that becomes. And the more ways you can reach out to that. So client, child, age, and then here's, child's DOB. So then, we've got the name of the person, we've got their mobile number, we've got who's going to case manage them, we've got the child's age, we've got 3, and then we've got child's DOB. Let's go 3, 5, and what would that be? 14 or something like that. 15. And so now we've got it becomes a more fleshed out profile, and mind you, when you do have all of these columns filled out and they become part of their profile, you can then key off of that, each one of those items. Like, for instance, you can then go and build a group around your 3-year-olds. You can go and build a group around your February, March birth dates. You can, build, you've got a default group of all of the cases I manage. And so, when I add my client and I know the case manager at that time, then the moment we add that client, whoever is that case manager can text all of their cases that they case manage, or a subset. So it's just more ways to text with people, the more information you have tied to their profile. Absolutely.
And can I ask you something? Do you guys have the capability that once we enter that kids age, meaning if they started and we entered them in and their birth date was this date and they started when they were 4 months, when they hit 1, or do we have to go back into that and physically move them into a different group? If we do, that's fine. We would have to know who's reaching their first birthday and then say they're no longer in the infant group, they're in the 1-year-old group, or however we decide to categorize that.
No, I hear you. And that's where minding and managing groups becomes, a bit of, you have to be a little more sophisticated in how you are building those groups. So, for instance, if I know that my under 1-year-olds are in one group, I can edit that group, right? And then I can, let me just do a demo here. I mean, it's hard when I don't have any clients to work with in this service.
You don't have to answer it right now. If that's something that's easier to answer later on once we've given you stuff, that's perfectly fine. I'll just bank it as a question.
Right. So it's it's listserv management. It's managing groups. It's taking a group that was this group of numbers and changing it to this group of numbers, because ultimately that's what's going to be the way in which you get at clients, is how you manage those groups and how current those are. There's easy ways to upload. You can build a group based on an Excel spreadsheet, or you can build a group based on sorting and titling the new group clients under 1 year old 2018, so that your group is meaningful for the amount of time that it's meaningful, and then you purge it and you update it with the new clients that are now part of that group. You see what I mean? So it's easy to build groups, but you are the master of that. You're the master of what groups, who's in what groups, and we're not gonna intelligently migrate them out of one group and into another group. You're gonna have to manage that. But the more information you know about a client, the easier that becomes.
Gotcha.
Okay, single number test. So I'm going to upload my phone number, and then what will happen is that it will update in the queue, and it will update with all of that information.
Gotcha. Now, Jonathan, you know that when you're dealing with Melanie and I, that this is like one of our extra hats that we're wearing, that we don't have a person that is dedicated to maintaining this. It's the two of us.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So some things I may not sound as smart about because I'll need you to explain things. So far, we're good.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Okay. Just want to make sure I mark all this stuff right. Okay. So then,
Right, so that way when we pull it, they give us that, so, but we'll have to recreate the.
Gotcha.
Every time. We have to.
Or every year.
So we validate the mobile numbers when you add them to the software. So, we'll make sure that it's a textable mobile number. If it's not, we'll put it in this box, and it will tell you. It'll say the following phone numbers were added. This phone number was not because it was incomplete, or it was not deemed a textable mobile number, meaning it's maybe a landline or a discontinued phone number. So we validate mobile numbers at the time when you add them.
Okay, that's great.
And then when you go to the phone number, then all of the things that we want to do to add when we added, they become part of that profile, right? And so you like I said, what you have available at the time when you add the clients is going to help, because that makes them for a more comprehensive profile. When the client's in the software, then it's just whatever information you want to send them, right? You can send them group messages based on cases that I manage, right? I'm a case manager of one individual because I added that my phone number to the software and indicated that I was a case manager. So I've got that as somebody I can text. I can also, though, just simply open up the case and text with them, so that you don't have to be the case manager to send a case. It's just another way of keeping track of clients and texting them if you happen to be the case manager. If I want to have a conversation with a client, I can search by name or phone number. And then I find my case and I open up that case and have a conversation with the client. You've got unlimited number of canned phrases. So you can be using intros, and have multiple intros. You can have intros that just you use and others don't. So you can personalize all of your canned phrases. You can have canned phrases that are based on particular ages, or particular resources, or particular types of programs that you offer, right? You might have a whole slew of canned phrases that you use for, you know, a particular program where people are maybe online, doing online classes, or maybe they're coming into your site. I don't know if you guys have on-site services or if it's all web-based. Whatever that case might be, you have texts that are consistent with that particular project. And they're canned phrases, and they auto-populate the moment you select them. Okay? So if somebody texts in and they want to ask a question, they can text, for instance, TG chat, and then they pop into the queue. You're notified. You get an update. You can be alerted mobile, but to a mobile phone. We can tell a mobile phone that there's a text in your queue. We can also send an email to an email account telling you there's a text in your queue. So it will also update the queue and let you know. So there's a lot of external notifications as well as internal. If you've got this checked, the notifications, you're going to get a pop-up window every 3 minutes telling you, hey, you've got a new text in your queue that needs to be answered. And then when you answer the text, you just go, hey, how may I help you today? And then you're off and away with a conversation. You're in progress with that individual. So they texted in, they want to ask a question. I'm greeting them. I'm now engaged with them, in progress with them. And I'm having a conversation with them, and I help them until they're done being helped. I can add a note about that profile. I can hide the attributes so that this is front and center, so that I'm creating notes as I'm having a conversation with them, which can, you know, add value to, again, you can sort by notes or sort by data markers so that you can build groups based on a note you enter or a data marker that you enter. So you asked, can I build the profile on the fly? Most certainly. You can build the profile on the fly. So a community, somebody in your community could come across, hey, all I have to do is text TG chat. Someone's going to answer my text, and I'm going to be able to get either qualified for these services or not, but this is the starting place, right? So that the on-ramp to you becomes a text line. And it's them texting you rather than trying to call you or rather than trying to email you. And then as you intake by asking them questions, you can be marking off their profile. And if they don't qualify for your services, they can text stop and opt out, right? Just tell them, hey, yeah, if you don't, you know, if you're not qualified or whatever, or you don't meet the criteria, then just text stop and opt out, and then they're opted out and they're not going to get services from you. But the idea is that you're now textable. People can, in the community, text you, and you can text them and have conversations with them and build groups and send them content and all that wonderful stuff. And yeah.
Question for you with that. So say someone is able to text us in, they get the canned response, you know, thank you, we'll be back with you within 24 hours. Is there a way for us to be able to then send them like a registration form for them to complete?
Sure. Yep. You can have an automatic response. Yep.
Okay, and that information, when it's completed, when they complete that registration, could we then be
that can auto-populate? It can auto-populate data marker fields so that as they reply to your intake Q&A, that intake Q&A is filling their data markers profile with the way they respond to that. And then you can group them based on how they reply to that intake Q&A. And then you can be sending them information based on the data markers that were set or based on how they're grouped because they completed the survey, the automated questions.
Okay. And
we would just need from you what those automated questions are going to be.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll set it up. And then you can say, okay, when somebody texts me chat, we want to send this greeting, and then we want to also survey them. And here's the survey that we're going to ask. And then that survey starts automatically without you doing anything. And like I said, it just completes, and that client is there. Hopefully their issue is resolved because they're an intake. So in your greeting, it could be, hi, thank you for texting Training Grounds. Are you interested in getting services from us? Reply Y. Or are you already getting services from us? Or reply 1. Are you already getting services from us and have a question? Reply 2. And then when they reply 1, they get the survey about, hey, this is, we need to qualify you. Whereas if they text 2, they're already getting services from you. And so that's an intake where you need to have a conversation with them. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. Yeah,
Okay,
that's awesome.
That works.
Can I ask you just like a technical question though? How long does this take to set up? Like, this is a lot of thought that we have to put.
Super simple. We'll as soon as you guys decide, what your intake is and what questions you want to ask and how that's all going to work, we'll have a turnaround in 24 hours.
Well, and can you, you facilitated the answering of that question really nicely, because you guys are used to doing these. This is new for us, 100% new. Our texting service is right now strictly one way to notify people. That's it.
Oh,
so,
right. Yeah, no good.
So it's like we might need a little bit more help thinking like what you just said, like, are you a client already? Text 1, or those are wonderful options. It may have taken Melanie and I a little longer to get there, and you got there right away.
Good. Well, that's the goal is that we want you to know that we support texting in all of its ways, right? In all of these different ways, these conversational texting, group texting, one-way push, automated surveys, what people are starting to call bot chat, right? An assistant that helps and gather information and then qualify them, or the intake component. So all these features need to be refined, and that's why I introduced you to Michael as well, because he'll help drill down and add more information and help you guys get to a place where you're ready to launch. You feel good. You've got all the majority of your initial settings done, and then we'll jump back in and we'll go, okay, now we're going to do a more full administrative workshop where we look at how your settings are going to be used, rather than just right now we're giving you an idea about what you can do. Whereas after you get done with Michael and then we set up the follow-up session, it's going to be, now this is what we're going to do with the settings that we've decided on. So, and then this is how we'll run our data. This is how we're going to text them long-term. This is how we're going to text them short. All those things are going to be answered over the next couple of weeks. Okay?
So gotcha. When you say chatbot, is that like what comes up on your screen that says, hi, do you have any questions, like when they're on your website? Or is that something different?
All I mean by that is it's an automated survey that you decide what the questions are and the answers are to that survey. That's all I mean. I don't mean like a robot like like on your website that. No, this is more along the lines of texting and surveys, and people like to refer to it as a chat bot, because we want to try to make it feel like they're texting with a live person, whereas they're not. In reality, they're just texting with the system. But the mechanics of that are going to be fully automated, and we're going to try to make it feel as much like a real person as possible, because people, they don't like to be handled that way, right? And so they like to feel like it's all personal, right? And texting by out of the box is an intimate channel. People want to feel like they're texting with a human being. So we're going to try to make it that way as much as possible, even when it's an automated assistant that they're texting with.
Okay, I have another question for you. Could it be up ahead?
Oh, sorry, you guys cut out. I didn't hear that question.
Okay, I'm asking now. It may be up a little bit ahead, Jonathan, but is it possible to use this text message system? So, for example, if we have someone, like we have a sign in when families come to the center, and we want to find out, who's coming, how many children are coming with. Is there a way for them to either maybe text on their phone that information at check-in, or if we had like a kiosk, they could log in and tell us, "Oh, I'm here. My name is," and kind of send it to us. Is that something that you guys can do with the messaging service?
It's really hard to hear you.
Oh, maybe we need to call in. Sorry, sometimes our internet connection isn't great.
Now it's better.
Nope.
Better now.
Okay.
I didn't hear that question.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, my question is that we have a sign in when families come to the center,
Uh-huh.
and we are looking for a better way for them to check in.
Mm-hmm.
Could this text messaging service be used for when parents check into the center on, say, like today, when families come in, they can check in and say, "I'm here and I came with my 2 children." And, so is there somewhere where they can sign in? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so instead of signing in on a piece of paper, you would
Right.
tell them to text a keyword to a number, and then that could start a series of maybe a couple quick questions that then send them some information about maybe going to your website, or sending them some information about what they need to have ready in order to be prepared for their session with you. Whatever that is, yeah, sure, we can migrate the steps of what you do with them with a piece of paper and make it a text exchange. Sure.
Okay, because we just need their name and their child's name and that they're here, but I don't know whether it would, I don't know if it would really do what we need to do with it. What we're trying to do is we collect that data every day so that we know how many families have come, who has come, and track how many times and how many days they come to the center. So we were just looking for an automated system.
Right. Another thing you can do is you can initiate the communication. You can say, "What's your mobile number?" when they come in, and then you can send them the survey to their phone that says, text your name, now text your child's name, and then that is gathered. That becomes part of their profile. They're consented for text messages. You could solve a lot of things just simply by having them either text something to opt in and get a couple quick questions, like I said, or you saying, "What's your mobile number?" and triggering that for them. So, it might be a good way for you to consent them, get some questions asked while they're sitting there, and maybe get further along, rather than them writing their name on a piece of paper. So have a think on that. But it can be either you guys triggering it by sending to their mobile number, or them triggering it by them texting a keyword to your short code.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Yep. And then I've got, unlimited grouping, with the way you guys, the way I understand your services to be so far, I think you're probably going to be using groups quite a bit. And groups are really, simple to do. You can sort by data marker. the age of the child. You can sort by the date of birth of the child. So you're building groups, April or March, something like that. And then I can go sort by data marker, and then I can go April. And then I would know, because it would get smaller. My list of clients would get smaller as I get to my target data marker. And then I can go add all. And now I've got March B-Days group. It's so easy to build ad hoc groups. It's easier than email. It really is. I mean, if you've ever tried to build groups in email, it's kind of clunky. Whereas this is like really easy to do. I mean, really, it's easy. And so I envision you guys, and then when you want to send content to your March B-Days, you just select that and type your message and send. It's that easy. If I need to change my March B-Days, I go show, I edit, and then I can remove and add whatever new phone numbers are going to be in my March B-Days group. So it's very easy to purge, reload, all that stuff. Super simple. And we really encourage you to get to know that tab, because that really becomes your best friend. And you know, it really becomes, conversational is super powerful. I don't want to diminish that, but groups just kind of allows you to amplify your message in a big way really fast. And that's why we like, you to be familiar with this tab and be able to build groups and all of that good stuff. Okay. When we part ways, and then the reports, and I'm going to have to jump off the phone in about 5 minutes here. I've got a hard start at 1 p.m. my time, which is 3 your time. Your reports, guys, are going to be like your all users report. That's a super terrific report, because it's an export Excel spreadsheet of all of your clients, all of the data markers associated to them, whoever's the case manager, whoever's responding to them, where to find if you've had conversations, what encounters they've had. All those things are in that all users report. So it becomes your kind of export of, this is our listserv. This is our text message listserv. So really neat. You can run it as many times as you need to. You can also set up automated reports to run whenever you want. So if I want my all users report to run daily, I can run it daily, and I get an email and I can download it when I want to. And so, just yesterday's all users report. And then now every night I'll get an email telling me, hey, your all users report is ready. I can either click it and download it or ignore it. Gotcha. So manual reports, automated reports, the only difference there is that in the manual, you're defining the term that it's running, whereas the automated, that frequency is predetermined, right? I'm going to run it daily, I'm going to run it weekly, or I'm going to run it monthly, or every 6 months, or annually.
Okay.
So
Jonathan, what are our next steps?
In the next few days, I'm going to CC you guys on my communications with Michael. Michael's going to be reaching back to you, and he's going to be communicating with you about how we're going to get your listserv going. And so, and then also he's going to be working with you to get any intake surveys that you want to get deployed. He's going to be working with you to get that information as well. So really, in the next couple of days, I'm going to want you to work with Michael, and then you're going to come back around once you've worked with Michael, and you'll come back around to me, and then we'll set up that next big training.
Okay, so how long do you think this process, that will take?
Oh, it's going to take, just like I said, a few days for you guys to get all that stuff worked out and get all the information that he needs. And then we'll be setting up a training sometime next week.
Okay. All
Sound
right.
good?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So be watching for that communication from me.